Welcome back to the Motherly Shift podcast, and thank you for tuning in and joining the discussion once again. I am your host, Kim Michelle, and this week is a continuation from our last episode titled The Conversation. In this episode titled The Conversation Part 2, we will hear from Wednesday and Andrina and their perspectives on their mother-daughter dynamic.
I'll go. Dang. The daggers around the table. Right. The pressure. All right, so I'm Wednesday. It's so funny because I've been reevaluating my relationship with my mom for a while. I love her. She is my rock. And she's my rock because I know my mother's wisdom, and everything she's told me or not told me has always been true, right? Or come out the way she said it was going to come out, even though I might turn away from it and be like, yeah, she don't know what she's talking about. Yeah, she do. But I grew up, and she was a single mom. Well, she and my dad met in high school. And my mother had a child at the age of 16 and was had to go to a girls' school. My grandmother told her that she had to go to a girls' school.
Now, where?
This is Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was born in Detroit. Yeah, what up? So, and then I'll get to the story of how between Georgia and Atlanta, that became my life for a little bit. But she, at 16, was in a girls' home because my grandmother told her she wasn't going to have that child and go to high school at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that really kind of started my mother's, or what I perceive it to be, this longing to want to be in love, you know. And so in my family, there was a history, or is a history, of if your child have a baby, you pass it to another aunt or someone to raise that child. So we've had some examples of that. But my mother at 16 did not want that to happen to her because she's seen the devastation or the emotions behind the other relationships. So she gave my brother up for adoption. But she always kept it an open adoption too. And as early as I can remember, so then 2 years after that, she got back in school. She met my father and my father's twin, and my mother and their sister. So my dad is a twin, and then he has an older sister. And so they met in high school, went through high school together, and then at 18, that's when I came along. And I've always seen her suffering. Like, I can remember days where they first lived in the first house, and it was like old all the time, or it was creaky, or, you know, it was something about it that was dark, or, you know, had this. But then I remember having times with both of them when they were happy, right? Christmases, birthdays. I used to have a birthday party every year. I used to have a birthday party. And then I start feeling this anger. It was always a tension. When I started growing up, I can feel the tension between my mother and my father.
When did you start feeling that? I'm curious. If you can remember.
Yep, I can. It was about 7.
Dang, that early.
Mm-hmm. You can feel it. Mm-hmm. You can. I felt that tension. You may not have been able to understand exactly
or articulate
what it was.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Okay.
And I didn't never feel that tension before. I had asthma really bad, also a lung collapse, you know. And I don't ever remember feeling like my mother and father were in love, or I was in awe of their relationship. I never had that feeling with them, and it was sad because I always wanted that, right? So they got divorced, and before they got divorced, I didn't have hair around my ears, and people would ask, "Why you don't have hair behind your ears?" I don't know, don't you? You don't have hair behind your ears, you know? So it was always pushed off. But that was the first sign of when, as a child, I became depressed or just worried. I'll say worried. I'll say worried because that's exactly what I felt like. It wasn't depression. Depression is a slower mood than what I was feeling to me. So I would say worried. And I remember my dad, when he walked out, I was 9 at this time, and my mother and father were arguing and they were fighting, and I couldn't. That's the tension. I was like, oh my God. So I remember one day, my dad, when he finally left the house, it was a rainy day, but it was a rainy day like this when the sun was shining. And I was at the front door. He slammed the front door, the screen door, and walked down to the grass. We used to have a really beautiful house. And he walked off and got into his little MG. He had a 2-seater MG, and rode off. And that was my first time feeling like, wow, like something was torn from me, right? And it was the love of my life because I love my dad. That's exactly how I felt. And so, like a year later, we're on the same street. And the ironic thing is that all the people that I used to play with, 10 years old and 12 and all that, on this particular street, through Facebook, I'm still friends with them, right? But then I started developing spots right here. And my mother, when she was doing my hair one day, my auntie was braiding my hair, and she noticed I had a spot right here. And I remember that was the first time I was diagnosed with alopecia. My mother took me to the dermatologist. I got some shots in my head, and from 9, that was about 12, till about 35, I never felt worried, if that makes sense. But growing up, my mother, I can always tell that she wanted better and more, but she didn't know how to get it. And she wanted to be married. She got married again. I was in college, and when I was in college, her son came on the scene because now at this time, that was adopted. His fiance at the time found out where he worked, where my mother worked, and found out about the adoption papers and got him, and that's how they found my mother. They connected. I was a sophomore in college. And he and I are the best of friends today, but even with him not being raised with us, there's this pattern among the men that I see, and I'm like, is that a trait from my mother? And it was like this longing to want something but don't know how to get it. And I saw this, and I tried my best to at least be and do more. That makes sense.
Now, at what age would you say that phrase you just came up with
Wanting to
dawned
do more?
on you? That dang, my mom wants to do and wanted to do more but couldn't figure out how to get it, and now you start seeing this in your siblings.
Okay.
When did that kind of epiphany come?
When she was working 2 jobs, and my aunt came to live with us, which is why I'm the aunt that I am today. That's a pattern.
And what age was that? Roughly?
That was about 12, 13-ish.
Really? That early?
My mother worked 2 jobs, and she had my aunt. My grandmother has 2 sets of kids also. She had 2 husbands.
Cousins.
Right, we cousins. They just what up, though?
What up,
Right, what up, though?
Y'all might be.
We
right.
Might be, because Winston knows everybody.
Everybody.
That's a whole nother
true.
story. So I was about 12 or 13. And my aunt she would always watch us, and we were very young. And she was the best aunt ever. I was like, gosh, I want to be better than her. I want to be like her. But my mother was always trying to get something better, and without being able to. It just seemed out of reach for a moment. So then high school came around. I played volleyball, ran track, and my mother moved back. She moved here because at that time my dad moved to Atlanta, and they were supposed to get back together or whatever. And I don't think my dad really. There must have been something that she did in the relationship that he is so cold-hearted toward. Like he will tell the story that she cheated on him. But, and she would say the same thing. So I don't know where the middle is, but I know there were some things between the both of them. But it didn't work out when she was here. And I'm telling this story because now I'm single at 53, wanting and feeling that whole longing. And it's not necessarily a longing, it's a desire. And I know that desire has run through the generations. You know what I'm saying? And
like you want to break the curse.
Like I want to
Like it's
I
a
want to
curse
be
on
that.
our family, and I want to break the curse.
That's exactly
And
right.
maybe it's not a curse. That might be a little bit
Harsh
too hard. But maybe it's a pattern.
It's
cycle.
a pattern. It's a
cycle.
cycle.
Yes.
Right. It's a cycle.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And when I moved, so I have a great relationship with her, but it's now seeming to be competitive, right, between she and I. And I say competitive because I can give several examples of where I have done things or said things and she would beat me to it, or it would be something like me, like she's done something like me. And I used to get annoyed by it, but now I know it's just admiration. I know it's admiration, and I'll give you for an example. We had a wedding in the family yesterday. My day was packed. A few weeks ago, I have a pink suit. As a matter of fact, that pink jacket that I wore one day when you and I had gone out some couple of years ago, I don't know. It's an outfit, jacket, and bottoms. That's it. And I've had it forever, right? And all the stuff in my closet or things that I wear, I'm not saving for a special occasion. So if I wear whatever I want to wear, whenever, you know what I'm saying? I think we all can get that, but now my whatever is not just safe for parties.
Right.
So I wore that pink suit earlier this summer because we went to a birthday party, 90th birthday party, and I wore it. She was like, "Oh my God, this is so, you're so," you know. But she didn't feel comfortable in what she was wearing. She had on a nice dress. She was really pretty, but I know she was kind of like envious-eyed. Yesterday at the wedding, so all day she texted me while I'm at this event that I had, and she texted me, "Well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this?" And I'm like, "Why is she texting me?" You know, I'm like, okay, she getting ready to be really beautiful, and it's something I ain't never seen. So I'm intentionally asking certain questions because she's sending me these brooches and these cuffs and all this. And she put rain on the rain ain't paying no high attention, so she really directed the questions at me because Rain ain't texting her back, right? So I'm like, "Well, what are you wearing this with?"
And who is Rain?
Rain is my niece, so now I'm the auntie. Okay. I'm that auntie. So I said, "What are you wearing this for?" "Oh, just the black outfit that I got." I'm like, okay. So I sent back, "Well, it's your choice. Both are nice." Okay. After the event, I ran some errands and then I went back to my dad's house. And she texted me, "Are you gonna be home when we get there? And I'm like, "Am I gonna be home? You don't have to even come by here." So I said, "Yes, I'm gonna be home," because I knew she wanted me to see whatever she had on. Right. My mother looked so beautiful yesterday. She had on a black sequin jacket and pants and some patent leather shoes. I don't know what the shoes look like because I tried not to make too much of a bit about it. But I got her hair done by Karanda, so she goes to Karanda now, and I'm doing her hair like every couple of weeks, just so she can continue to feel better. And she came by that house, y'all. She was beautiful. But I didn't go to the wedding because I didn't want to go. And she was like, "I just missed you being it." Because you wanted me to just gloat on you, you know what I'm saying? But that's just, I know it's one small kind of competitive sort of thing, but I got a trove of them. You know what I'm saying?
Question. So wait a second. So you wanted her to feel better about what? What was going on that you wanted her to feel better about?
When I say feel better, I meant I wanted her to be in the limelight because she would have kind of scoured down a little bit, or she would have walked around because she wanted to be shown off. And I wanted her to do that herself. She didn't need me to show her off and how pretty she looked. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
is it like a lack of confidence at that age? Because I feel like my mom has a lack of confidence. Because I get what you're saying about every outfit, it needs my approval. And
my mother actually goes get the same thing.
And then she'll say, "Well, I can't wear that." Or she'll say, "I really want to wear those leggings, but you got the butt for it and I don't." And it's like, at what age do you just wear what you want to wear and be okay with whatever you have on?
Mine is not that one. She didn't grow up with anything. She didn't have the opportunities. Like, I went to college, and I'm not bloating this, but I was the first in the family to go to college besides my uncle. And she just never had the money and the funds. Her vision of what she wanted to look like or what she wanted to have has always been bigger than what her pocketbook had been. And there's weaving little things around in there that I can tell you is surely competitive. And it's not necessarily competitive, it's a proudness. Let me kind of help bring up my game because I know my daughter is gonna bring hers every time. Does that make sense?
So when did you notice that it was like your mother was kind of competing?
Just recently, I think since I turned 50. because it used to irritate me before. Yes, like I would even tell her some things, and I would say, I find myself going into a pattern. I'm gonna tell you this, but don't tell nobody. But I swear to God, she didn't text it to her sisters. She didn't text it to folks all around the corner, whatever it might be. So every time I would say that, I would notice I'm having that pattern. Don't say nothing to anybody, but I kid you not, it'll slip out somehow, some kind of way. But then, so not that, not that. That is more so. I got some information. I can't keep it in, and I want to one up you sometimes. I want to tell it before everybody else do. But the competitiveness is just, and it's not competitiveness. And to answer your question, what age? Just around 50, because it used to irritate me. But now I'm a lot more patient, and I'm in the Word a little bit, just as much as she is, if not more. And I'm understanding it even different than, you know what I'm saying? So when I recognize it, because I can tell her, I told her, this is what our pattern is. Like every time we go out of the country, every time we travel, right? She won't get, a glass of champagne. She don't drink, but she won't get a glass of champagne because she's thinking about the dollars in her own pocket. But yet she know I'm not going to let her pay. Does that make sense? And it's like, why are you doing this to yourself? I got this. This is, or she'll go
It's
out.
almost like she don't, not that you're going to outdo her, but don't outdo her.
Pretty much, almost something like that. Or I'm going to show you I can do it too.
Right.
I'm going to show you I can do it too. And again, I think it's a proudness. I used to take it in those negative connotations because then the reaction I would get would be irritation. But now I just say, you know what, she's just proud. And the money that she does have, which is not very much, she wants to feel better about herself. Like being at.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I can only give my personal account. And I thought that parents always wanted their children to just do better than them.
Some do.
You know what I mean? I thought that was, and I'm gonna let you finish your story, but I'm just thinking back because that competitiveness rung a bell with me. But that's a story for another time. I'll get there. But I find that same dynamic with me and my mom, where actually it was pointed out to me by a girlfriend of mine when I was in my mid-30s. She said, your mom is competing with you. And I was shocked, like, Bub, why? Based off of what? Because the whole time growing up, my mom was like, you can be the president of the United States, you can do this, you can do that, you're the best, you're the greatest. Like,
Cheerleader.
I didn't think I couldn't do anything. It's everything, and I kind of still carry that. Oh, you don't think I can do that? I bet you I can. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I grew up. Like, there's nothing that you can't do. But I did notice at some point, it was like, it shifted a little bit where, and I don't remember when, I'm gonna have to think about the timeline on it, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head, when I bought a house, oh, you went and got a house like mine. I do not have a house that is anything similar to yours, okay? Or, oh, you went and bought the car, bought that car because I used to have one of those. Coincidental, but no, I wasn't thinking about you. Or little things like, because you hit on something else, you're the first to go to college in your family, right? That is a badge of honor that my mom has worn for a long, long time, that she was the first college-educated person in her family. And she, rightfully so, extremely proud about that. Okay. So unfortunately for her, I went to the Naval Academy, okay? And what I heard after that point, after having graduated, we would be having a heated fellowship, okay? And I don't know where she'll be like, you're not smarter than me. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And that happened a couple times to the point where I was like, she feels some kind of way.
Right.
Like, but wasn't that the point? Isn't that what you built me up for? Isn't that what we prepared for? Didn't you tell me the only path forward was college and and home and steady job and self-sufficiency? And I'm checking the boxes. But you don't seem real happy. I'm checking the boxes, You're not, what happened to my rah-rah? Like, what happened? You know, but please, continue with your story. It just, it just was let me underline
It's
a couple times.
it's tough. It's really tough because I think at this point it's turned into entitlement almost. There's an entitlement air about that whole dynamic between us two, and I think she's starting to realize as I say no more now. But I'm still gonna make sure you're good. Kind of no, you know what I'm saying? No, you're not gonna. I'm not buying that. Or she'll give me a hint when we're in the store, like no, or I'll overlook it. So I think it's turned into some of an entitlement thing. And if she ever, I don't know, that's what it feels like right now. But I'll tell you though, anybody in my corner, if I needed anything, I don't care what it is, I can call her anytime, right? There are things in my life that she said, just keep living, Wendy, just keep living. And I've seen those things as I have kept living that she has been spot on about. But the one thing I wish was a little differently is that she showed me what a marriage and being in a relationship was about. Because that feeling that I got when I was at that screen door when my dad left, I've had that feeling before and it don't feel good. It's an anxiety, it's a worry and some, you know what I'm saying, with relationships. And I want to break that. I want to break that pattern, and that's why I'm excited about where I am with Rain and Ryan. But then excited to get back into my life because when Rain and Ryan were born, my mother had just had a stroke, and I was living in Florida. And at that point, she was about maybe a month outside of the stroke, and she was living with some people. And I went and got her, and she stayed with me in Florida. But at that particular time, it was 2017, she was probably maybe a month with me already. But Rain and Ryan were born, and she was praying that I was going to take them to adopt them, and I didn't. I didn't because I was in a great relationship at the time. And then that weight of we need some help came in when she and my dad took Rain and Ryan. And that relationship went to the ends, you know what I'm saying? And I've carried also that feeling into other relationships. And I haven't been in a lot of relationships, but that weight of I should have taken care of them when my mother and father was taking care of them and I was thriving weighs on me. And it has come into my relationships, if that makes any sense. And it never has been discussed, but I just wish I had seen better relationships between them, with her in particular. And I've seen her with, you know, different boyfriends, and I'm like, that ain't, you know what I'm saying? Those type of patterns, being single and those particular type of patterns. And I want to break that.
You will.
You will.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you don't want to see. My parents should have got a divorce years ago.
Yeah.
Point blank. I've seen my dad do some things that broke my mom. And I love my mom, but I never wanted to be her. Because I felt like she was weak. Because there is no way, no way that, and I think from seeing that, like I never wanted to be married. Because number one, I didn't want to be weak. And number two, I didn't want to marry my dad. Because it just wasn't going to work. So she was not self-sufficient. She always said, if I leave, I can't take care of y'all. She couldn't take care of me and my brother. So I vowed I would always be self-sufficient. I would never depend on a man to do anything. Because if you depend on him, you got to take that crap.
Yeah.
And she taught me that. Now I consider her to be strong
In a different sense.
in a different sense.
Yeah.
Because she took it.
For
You know,
you. For you
and
and your
she'll
brother.
say she took it from me and my brother. And
Now, are you the oldest?
I am the oldest,
By how many years?
7.
Okay.
And I will say I was a daddy's girl. Because my mom could break her neck to take care of us. But my dad would come in with that one item that I wanted. And he knew I wanted to fit in, and he would bring it. And I'm like, oh, that's my daddy. You can't tell me nothing about my daddy. And I can remember when she was leaving. And I'm like, well, you can go. I'm staying with my daddy. Because that's my daddy. You know, he brought that stuff in at the, you know. But as I got older, as an adult, I'm like, you should have whooped my ass and left. Because I feel like she would have been happier. I feel like she's there now just because what else is there to do? I mean, he's 80, she's 76. But I feel like she would have had a happier life. As you said, I didn't see the lovey-dovey marriage. So I didn't know how to pattern that because I didn't see that. I mean, my parents sleep in separate bedrooms, you know. So I didn't know how, like, to hold hands, that I love you this, I love you that. I never saw that. So I didn't know how to receive that. So, you know, I fought them for a lot of that because maybe I wouldn't have been 45. But I'm like, I'm not about to be married because y'all don't know how to act. So I get that. I totally get that. I totally get that. So, I mean, it's different.
So tell us about your story.
So my story, I'm Andrina. I'm 54 from Noonan. My mom is my rock. I love my mom to pieces. But as I stated, I felt like there were times in her life where, looking back, she should have been stronger. Not necessarily for her children, but for herself. Because as I look back, I want more for her. But she always said, until you have children, you won't understand. You know, and so maybe that was the case. But I feel like had she been a little stronger, like, I'll tell you, I started working at the bank in that industry in like 1989. At that time, my mom didn't even know how to balance a checkbook. She didn't have her own checking account. She would work and give my dad her paycheck for him to pay the bills. And there came a time where she almost lost a car because he would be out in the streets, you know, being that man out in the streets.
With somebody else's
with
money.
somebody else's money, with my mom's money, with all these women. And she came to me and she called me one day and she was like, they're about to come take my car. And I'm like, no, they're not. So, you know, I jumped in where she was supposed to be saving me, but I'm saving her.
How old were you?
19.
19.
So here I'm coming. Let's get off. Let's go get this loan to pay for this car because you're not going to lose your car. And I'm going to teach you how to balance a checkbook, how to be in charge of your own money. So I'm still trying to grow up. But over here, I got to take care of this because this is my
still
mom.
growing up. You ain't never 19.
I mean, but this is my mom. So at this point in my life, I'm like having to teach her how to be independent. Because all she ever did work, she put her check in that checking account, and my dad would just be the big man in the street, and he was, you know, he dressed or whatever, and here it comes. I'm like, so no, I'm gonna teach you. So however many years ago that's when she first had her own checking account, where I had to show her, this is what you do. This is how you take care of your own money. We went out and got her own insurance. She was so dependent on my dad to take care of absolutely everything, to where when I grew up, I'm like, never. I don't want nothing in his name. I don't want that, because when they get crazy, I got to depend on me. Yeah. So, you know, I always and she'll tell me now, I wish I was as strong as you, because in my marriage, I'm like, you know, you get to acting crazy, I'm going to tell you what you can do and where you can go. And she was like, I should have been as strong as you. You really say that? I'm like,
You said, I don't know how not to say it.
I don't know how not to say it. That's true. I don't know how not to say it because I know what I saw. So therefore, I know what's not going to happen. It's just, I mean, I love her to death, but I feel like she should have been stronger. She should have fought for herself more than she fought for us as her kids. Because now when she say, I'm just stuck, I feel like she's miserable. And I feel like life is too short for her to be in that sense. And where she'll say, you know, what else am I going to do? You know, I can't leave at this point. But is there like a point in time in your life where you just say, enough is enough? Even at 76, I feel like, you know, there's still happiness out here. And I just feel like she just.
But that's all she knows.
That's all she knows.
That's
the pattern.
But it's a pattern.
That's the pattern.
And that's probably why she didn't want to, she put up with what she put up with, because she didn't want to take y'all out of that environment that y'all knew, because she knew she couldn't give y'all.
And that's, I've heard that conversation.
Yeah.
She could not give us, as a single parent,
the
life that we have.
with her taking what she was taking.
But in a sense, you hurt your children when they see those things. Because I saw some things that she probably don't even know that I know, you know, that she took. He wasn't abusive to the fact that he didn't hit her, but, you know, he cheated. He was bold.
He was
Emotionally.
I mean,
manipulative.
Very manipulative. And he was bold with it to the point where, you know, I can remember a time that he took my brother to the girlfriend's house.
Oh my God, my dad did the same thing.
But now,
My granddaddy did that.
what? My
That
brother,
was the cover back then.
yeah. So my brother, not knowing what he came home and told, he was like, Mama, Daddy took me to this lady's house and she gave me an apple. So she loaded us up in the car. She was like, what house? You show me. So we got in the car. We rode to that lady's house, but we just kept riding. And so I'm thinking, we're going to stop? Because I'm ready. Let's go, Mama. Let's go, Mama. But, you know, she just rolled by and she was like, oh, you know. And so I'm like, that's where you need to be. You need your independence. You need your strength. And she to this day, she'll say she did it for us. She took it for us. But, and I always asked her.
Do you think that's real though, or is there an element of sacrificial recognition there? Like, see what I did for you all? I put up with this.
It's something
I think
else.
it's real.
I think it's something.
I think that's part of it.
But I
it's
also
still
think there's
something
fear.
else.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the fear.
I think it's the
It's
fear. I think it's fear.
Insecurity.
Is your mom college educated?
No, she went to Albany State for like a year.
Okay.
But see, let me ask you this. If she's saying, what would I do now? Did she say that back then? What would I do? You know what I'm saying? Is that the pattern of the fear thing behind not taking action back then? If I took action, what am I going to do?
And that's what she said. She said that day, I remember that day like it was yesterday. She packed up and she was leaving, and my dad was hugging me like, you know, I'm sorry, this, that, and I'm like, well, I'm staying with my daddy. And so she was like, we were going to have to go to my aunt's house because she didn't have a place for us to go. So we would have been on top of them. You know, my aunt had 2 children, a husband. And so then she was like, she always say, I cried, which I did because that was my daddy. I didn't know any better at that time. And she was like, it just wasn't worth it because she was not going to split us apart and she was not going to leave me. So there was I think a lot of times I do a lot of things for her because she told me that. So I don't know if it's me that feels guilty because I told her, you should have whipped my ass and you should have left. You know, we would have figured it out. Hindsight 2020, we would have figured it out. But at that particular point in time, because he came in, I can remember it was like an Outback red shirt. That's how long ago it was, if you know those shirts. And all my friends had one, and I really wanted one. I mean, and he might have stayed out for 2 days, but he came in with that shirt. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter because he came in with that shirt that I could wear, that I could fit in with my friends. And she was like, she couldn't do that, you know, working the job that she had.
Her paycheck over too.
Right, because she was handing her paycheck over. Yeah. Yeah. So, I
So
mean,
your mom really bought that shirt.
maybe she did. Only the other woman bought that shirt. Only the other woman bought that shirt.
The other woman did, yeah.
But he just brought it into me, you know, right before we was about to go to school. I mean, like growing up, I can remember in junior high school, like he would leave the night before, and as we were getting ready to go to school, he was coming in. He was coming in the house. She didn't say a word.
And yet you're a daddy's girl?
He came in at the.
He had the nice and
He
shiny
had the
things.
nice clothes. My dad could dress. He had all the Bill Cosby sweaters, and so he was at that point to where I would sneak them out, and I would just wear them. And like I said, he always came in. He took me to the Michael Jackson concert. You know, he did things to compensate for not being what he should have been. Now today, I could ask him for the world, and he would give it to me. And he does my brother the same way. Now, I think I'm more receptive of it than my brother is because he was like, Daddy was never there for us. But
That's a whole dynamic.
that's a whole dynamic.
Yeah.
That's a
I
whole
am.
dynamic in itself.
I am.
It is a whole
I mean,
dynamic in itself.
Yeah.
I guess
And it's okay. You don't have to apologize. I mean,
Yeah,
it just
we
is
just
what it is.
wondered,
I'm
yeah.
a daddy's girl too.
I
And my
am
dad did
too.
some
I am
deplorable
too.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the deplorable things, but I can tell you now, I see my daddy the way my mother sees him, if that makes any sense. And I see my mother, I see him through her eyes in a sense of, it's not just, I'm blinded by my daddy's love anymore. You know, I see him because I've been living with him. But you said something about sacrificial piece. You resonated with me with the Michael Jackson piece. My mother was sacrificial in the times that we were young as well. I remember her giving up every time we did something which was grand, and it was outside of a family reunion, because that's our vacation times too. It was always her last, and I would hear her say, well, this is my last. Michael Jackson, she took me to I was 16 at the Michael Jackson, and it was her last, but she sacrificed it because I was supposed to do something else with some cousins. That sacrifice and that feeling of, dang, I don't want to ask her for nothing, or
because it's her last.
it's always her last, and it was always her last. I don't want to gloss over that, but still, some of those traits and those things that I was talking about, those patterns, I can see all through our relationship.
Yeah.
Always her last. And I was grateful, and I am still grateful, but it was always her last.
You told me it was your last time.
Right. But see, I didn't even think of it like that, you know.
not then, because
right.
you thought, oh, my mama is giving me her very last.
Yeah.
You know,
Sacrifice.
It was
she
always
sacrificed
her
it.
last. Yeah. Michael Jackson, she sacrificed to take me, you know, to go see Michael Jackson, but it was always her last.
Yeah.
And I'm not, you know, that's just how it was. So that sacrificial piece, you know, I understand
I
that.
think maybe it's generational. I don't know. I hate to say generational, but I think maybe, I just think maybe that's what it is.
See, I have no idea. I do think women in that age group have similar responses and reactions to certain things. And I was just sitting here wondering how much of that was learned from their mom. Like, how did they even know to do some of the things or make some of the decisions? Now, one thing I will say, I was thinking about this when you were talking to Andrina. You know, now having been a parent myself and explaining to my now adult children certain things that they had take issue with, I just told them I did the best I could at that time in my life based off the information that I had. And I feel like our moms, to an extent, did the exact same thing. They did the best they could with what they had, what they knew at that point in time. And sometimes it was spot on and sometimes it was questionable.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think, to me, and I don't want to sound cynical, I feel like women in that generation like the guilt tripping. They like to be able to say, look what I did for you. And then they can count up all the grievances they have against you about what you didn't do.
Right.
You know, how long they was in labor, and, you know, how you stretch their body out. Or now my foot, it used to be a size 6, now it's a size 8 because I was carrying you. And I used to have the smallest waistline ever.
It's
We
really
could've
my
went on vacation
birthday.
here, but I decided to let you go to band camp. And it's like, I'm a kid, do I need to know these things? Like, these are your decisions. I didn't have anything to do with that. I didn't have anything to do with making your foot get bigger. I mean, I didn't even ask to be here. I don't know, but I feel like women in that age group sometimes is just like I don't know if it's learned or if it's a self-importance that they need to remind you, or I call it guilting. I'd be very interested in knowing what they call it. But it's not almost like, you know, almost
They
like
call
you
it
owe me.
sacrifice.
They call it sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
But it's almost like, and you owe me.
Right.
So that I don't get the sacrifice. I don't get those comments. I get the entitlement. The you owe me piece very subtly. That's what I get. She ain't never said, well, my foot, but she said it like, you know, to other people. But that whole 6 to 7.5 thing, shoe size. Could it be you just getting older?
I mean,
Could have been your foot just.
your foot just wrong.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about that. So,
Wow.
all right, Audrey. Next week, in part 3 of the conversation, we'll meet Audrey, who will share her perspective on her relationship with her mom and the impact it has had on her life. You will also hear from me on my dynamic with my mom. This will conclude the initial discussion had with my movie night ladies, but continue to meet us here each week for the Motherly Shift podcast. We will continue to introduce several new guests with unique and informative stories on their own mother-daughter dynamic. Thank you for joining. I'm Kim Michelle with the Motherly Shift podcast. Have a wonderful week.